Chapter 21. Payden. I flinch at the tingling sensation in my temple. Not because it's painful to have a wound close beneath the hands of a healer. No, it's the familiarity that hurts the most. The feel of my skin stitching back together only reminds me of when it was my father on the other end of that ability. Once, his nimble fingers were the ones to run over every ache and gash earned during my long training sessions. And after he had healed me, or I'd helped him heal another, we would share a butterscotch to celebrate another day survived. Until he was gone. And now I've forgotten what the sweet tastes like. I shift on the bed, my body tingling with each pass of the healer's swift hands. Attempting to distract myself from the familiar feel of it, I stare instead at the late afternoon light spilling through so many surrounding windows. Kai hadn't left my bedroom until the early hours of the morning, leaving me to sleep most of the day away. He had tried to convince me to see a healer up until the moment I watched him slip out of the door. But I was far too tired to entertain the idea until this very moment, having stumbled out of the bath in a tremendous amount of pain. And with the ball looming only a handful of hours away, I forced myself to endure the ache of being healed by unfamiliar hands. Ellie bustles around the room, readying herself for the great deal of work that awaits. Having slept so late, I've left her with little time to make my damp hair and raw skin look presentable. I watch her quick movements, unnerved by the fact that we have yet to speak since Kai's late arrival in my rooms. "You're all set, miss?" I startle at the man's deep voice beside me. "Yes, thank you," I manage to the healer, adding a quick nod in emphasis. He returns the gesture before making his way out of the room, leaving my healed body behind. With a sigh of relief, I stand to my feet, stretching out stiff limbs. "It no longer feels like I nearly died yesterday," I say cheerily. "In fact, I think I may actually be in the mood for dancing." "Someone seems happy." Ellie pats the vanity chair with a smile, beckoning me to her. I sit before her, letting my eyelids flutter shut as she begins powdering my skin. "I feel good. Hopeful." "I'm glad." Something about her tone has my eyes snapping open. "And this good mood has nothing to do with I take a breath. "With the enforcer?" "Mm-hmm," she hums, lips tucked into a thin smile. "Ellie, there's nothing going on between me and—" I trail off when she shakes her head at me. "Payden, I don't need to know about you and the prince. She chews on her bottom lip. "I just hope you're being careful. Queens are not as easily forgiven as their kings." Her words are a much-needed reminder. My eyes fall on the ring still residing on my right hand, a detail Kit will not soon forget. The warm bathwater has thoroughly cleaned it of the mud, leaving the promise to glint in my lap. With a deep breath, I slip it onto the correct finger. Ellie doesn't seem to notice as she continues with that soft smile of hers. "But I enjoy seeing you giddy like this. It reminds me of Adina and her boy from Loot." My whole body stiffens beneath her hand currently dragging a dark line of kohl atop my lashes. "What are you talking about?" I hear the hesitance in her voice, the quiet sadness that remains there. "That's right. She never told you, did she?" She lets the words linger. "There was this boy she would sneak off to see while you were in the trials." My heart pounds in time with her words, aching like it has since the day Adina died. Why didn't she tell me?" Ellie pulls back, allowing me to open the eyes now welling with tears. "She didn't want to distract you from the trials." Her lips pull into a thin smile. "She said you wouldn't rest until you met him and approved. So the plan was to tell you after. But then—" "There was no after," I whisper, turning away with a shuddering breath. She was always too damn selfless. We fall silent as Ellie hesitantly returns to the task at hand. After a long while in which I dwell only within my thoughts, I manage to gather enough courage to peek at my reflection. But I don't recognize the girl within it. Her lashes are darkened, her lips tinted the color of blood. She looks like the sharpness that piercing grief hones one into, like fearlessness carved out of necessity, not courage. I want her with me tonight, Adina, I say quietly, breaking the silence that has long stretched between us. Ellie nods in understanding and swings open the closet doors. Silver pools at my feet, cascading down the body above. Cool air brushes the low dip of my bare back. The dagger strapped to my thigh is more of a comfort than anything, as is the steel ring I spin on my thumb. So much has changed since the first time I wore this dress, and yet here I am again, walking towards a ball in honor of the trials I'm competing in. Only, I've now gained a ring on my hand, cut the hair falling down my back, earned more scars I'm ashamed of, lost the girl who made this very dress for me. I pull at the elegant shawl around my shoulders, ensuring it covers the O carved above my heart. Thankfully, Ellie hadn't questioned me when I requested to wear the silver wrapping. It ties elegantly beneath my breasts, draping over my shoulders while still covering the maimed skin I wish to hide. Kit nods as I approach the closed door to the ballroom. There is no denying how handsome he looks in a black suit. It's perfectly tailored to his body, contrasting against the blonde hair and golden crown atop his head. "You look lovely," he says evenly. I smile, trying to warm this frigid indifference between us. "Thank you, Kit. You look very handsome." He nods his thanks before offering me a stiff arm. I accept it, feeling more than a little awkward as I do. Kit doesn't waste a moment before tilting his chin towards the Imperials beside us. Understanding his silent request, they begin to open the massive doors. We wait, loosely joined at the elbows. The king looks down at our linked arms then, examining the bare fingers that fan around the crook of his elbow. "I see your ring made it back to the correct hand." The doors groan on their hinges. My heartbeat quickens its pace. I lift my free hand, flashing the diamond at him. This is the hand Ilian needs this ring to be on. The finger ordinaries need it to be on. "Of course," I say evenly. "After hiding it from the bandits, I must have slipped it onto the wrong finger in my delirious state." The slightest bite in my voice has him studying me curiously until the doors fall open. "Ready?" he murmurs. "Not in the slightest." And with that, we step out onto the balcony that overlooks the ballroom. Kit guides me to the railing, our bodies close. A sea of people stand below us, all staring up expectantly. I haven't seen this view since my entrance to the final Purging Trials ball, and I can't say I've missed looking down on every cold expression. "Good evening," Kit welcomes, his voice carrying across the long length of the room. It's suddenly warmer when not directed at me. "Tonight we celebrate the success of Peyton Gray's first trial. She has achieved what few dared to do, bringing Marina Azur's crown back to its rightful home. And if Peyton continues to complete these trials, she will soon be wearing that crown herself." I struggle to stop from startling at the servant who suddenly appears beside me. Hesitantly, I accept the flute of champagne he offers and watch as Kit does the same. "A toast," the king declares, lifting the glass out towards the crowd. They respond with a raising of their own champagne. He seems to clear a cough from his throat before finishing. "To Peyton Gray, and the completing of this first trial." My murmured words are swallowed in the echoing crowd, but they are meant for no ears but my own. "To surviving long enough to see a united Ilia." I lift the glass to my lips, swallowing the champagne in time with everyone else. The bubbles fizz their way down my throat, crisp and sweet. Life resumes on the dance floor as we make our way down one of the emerald-padded staircases that lead to the marble below. Spirited music accompanies each of my steps, Kit's arm an anchor to keep me from taking a tumble down the stairs. When my heels hit the floor, I'm surrounded by a swarm of bodies. Not for me, of course, but for the grinning king. Women of all ages flock to us, rambling about plague knows what, while batting their lashes at him. I'm quickly shoved from his side, left to sip my champagne alone while Kit occupies his entourage. Annoyance quickly crawls across my features to redden my cheeks. I'm not upset by the women attempting to woo my betrothed, only that they were bold enough to do it in front of me. With that thought in mind, I begin to push my way through the gaggle to claim what is mine, not out of jealousy, but as an act of power that I clearly need to establish. I reach for Kit, looping my arm through his. Let's dance. I want to dance. The women seem to deflate at my words, Kit nearly as surprised as they are. You do? I flash him a bright smile, as though it could mend the relationship I left in shambles. We are engaged, yes. It seems only right that we dance for the court. Kit contemplates this for a moment before deciding he doesn't have much of a choice. In silent agreement, we stride towards the dance floor. I throw back the rest of my champagne and set the empty flute on a nearby servant's tray, stomach warming from the alcohol. As I turn back to smile at the begrudging king I've dragged along, my gaze snags on a familiar shade of purple. Kit nearly slams into me with how abruptly I plant my feet. An emotion more potent than rage begins to boil within me at the sight of that lilac hair. Kit's mouth is moving, but I don't hear a word that falls from it. Instead, I'm standing at the edge of the dance floor, staring at Adina's murderer. It's as though I'm back in the center of that pit, cradling her broken body with my eyes locked on the culprit, just as they are now. My feet are suddenly moving. I push through the clustered bodies and swaying couples, not caring that I'm striding through a dance. With each step, her features grow clearer. The long lilac hair that was tied in a strap for that final trial in the bowl. The brown eyes that had watched the branch plunge through Adina's chest. The painted lips that curled into a smile as she guided it there with a single murderous thought. And I am going to tear her apart for it. I've nearly reached Blair by the time her gaze finally deigns to land on me, and I smile when it widens with an emotion that might just be fear. I lunge, teeth bared, and arms outstretched. Arms wrap around my waist, tugging me back from her. I let out a cry of frustration as I fight against the familiar hold. Kai's lips are at my ear before my feet have even met the floor. Easy, Pei. You need to calm down. I claw at his arms, anger clouding my vision. It's not until another figure blocks my view of Blair that I still. Lenny's face hovers in front of me, free of its usual Imperial's mask. Without the leather obscuring it, I can see the worry that clearly crinkles his brow. Peyton, you can't touch her, all right? His voice is part plea and part command. This isn't worth it. You're going to be queen. Think of what would happen if you tried to kill the general's daughter in front of your entire court. Kai's arms slacken around my waist, leaving me panting up at Lenny. It's not worth it, he says quietly. Please don't make me stand between the two of you, because I will. His words have me taking a staggering step back. I shake my head at him. He must see every bit of hurt and hatred on my face because his falls into an equally torn expression. And yet, he chooses to return to his spot at Blair's side. Her brown gaze flicks to mine, face placid in a way that makes it difficult not to shatter the facade with my fist. Keep her out of my sight, I order evenly. Because you won't be able to stop me, Lenny. You know that. I'm walking away before a reaction can form on their faces. I hear Kai's long strides behind me, likely following to ensure I behave myself. But that is the last thing I want to do tonight. I grab a flute of champagne from a servant's tray and gulp down the liquid in a matter of seconds. Then I exchange that empty glass for a full one and do the same. Warmth spills into my stomach, coating my body in an intoxicating, fuzzy feeling. That is all I want to feel tonight. Not anger, not hurt, not queenly. Just this contentment beginning to thrum through me. Do I even want to know what you're planning? Kai sighs from where he towers over me. I give him a smile, noting the way it affects him. Then I shove my empty glass into his hand. I'm planning on having fun.
Chapter 22. Kai. She's lost her shoes. Well, she had. That was before I'd scoured the ballroom for them, knowing Peyton would not. Seeing that she flung them off her feet with a declaration of discomfort, I'm sure she was quite content to never find them. Now, swaying in time to the music, she hardly notices the heels hanging from my fingers. I lean against the pillar, watching her with a smile that has rarely left my lips all evening. Her familiar silver dress clings to the body beneath, rippling with each of her movements. She's hypnotizing. Every laugh, every smile, every sway of her hips. Her cheeks are flushed pink beneath the strands of silver hair falling over her face. But despite her glistening skin, Peyton doesn't remove the thin shawl around her shoulders. And I may be the only one in this room that knows why. Lifting my eyes from where I know Father's parting gift to her lies beneath the fabric, I find her lifting yet another glass of alcohol to those distracting red lips. I push off the pillar, halting her arm before the liquid can slip down her pretty throat. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I may need to cut you off for the night. Her eyebrows rise comically, every movement exaggerated. You, cutting me off. She leans closer, tilting her head at me. That seems a bit ironic. Trust me, darling, I sigh. I'm well aware. She waves her glass at me, sloshing champagne over the brim of it. Aren't you the one who loves to get drunk at these boring balls? With her free hand, she shoves a finger into my chest. Then you'd beg for a dance with me, and occasionally unlace my dress afterwards. I chuckle at her sly grin. Well, you know why I did that. Yes, but what I don't know, she says innocently, is why you haven't since. Are you... I shake my head at her in disbelief. Are you flirting with me, Gray? She giggles in a way I've never heard before but would beg to again. I'm simply thinking out loud. Now it's my turn to tilt my head at her. Then I would certainly like to hear what else it is you're thinking. Why aren't you drinking with me? She shoots back with a mischievous grin. Well, someone has to look after you. She takes a step closer. I have a fiancé. And yet, I dangle the heels in front of her. I'm the one carrying your shoes. Though, I am worried about what it is you'll be taking off next. This has Pei laughing loudly. Her teeth are bright against red lips, and I can do nothing but study the unbridled brilliance of that smile. Why? Because I won't let you help? I shrug a shoulder, my eyes darting across the packed room. Because I don't like to share. This seems to still her for a moment, at least long enough to take a slow swig of champagne. Then her eyes are pinned on that sparkling ring, even while returning my shrug. Well, you'll have plenty of time to get used to it. I'm not even drunk, but her words are sobering. They cut right through me. The reminder, a slap to the face. Because I will forever be sharing her in secret, in the shadow of her marriage to my brother. That thought alone has me dropping her forgotten shoes and snatching the glass from her hands. In one swift movement, I down the stolen liquid, savoring its sweetness on my tongue. Her eyebrows rise as a laugh tumbles from her mouth. Changed your mind about keeping an eye on me, I wave over a servant, grabbing 2 more flutes of champagne from his tray. Oh, I'll still have my eyes on you when I'm drunk, darling. And that is exactly the problem. Taking the glass I extend, she gives me a wry look. And why would that be a problem? I lean towards her to murmur, we're supposed to be keeping our distance. Remember? I have enough trouble doing that when I'm sober. Something about the way she's looking up at me has already made it difficult to think straight. This version of Payton seems to be even more dangerous than the one who unflinchingly holds a blade to my throat. Alcohol emboldens, loosening her lips to spew sober thoughts. And, truthfully, I'm not sure how to hold myself back from a Payton who so brazenly pursues me. In fact, she might even be making me nervous. I'm unused to the feeling. In that case, her voice is a lazy drawl as she presses her fingers to the bottom of my glass, lifting it to my mouth. Even as she tips the glass against my lips, our gazes never roam from each other. Let's test that self-control of yours, enforcer. She croons, handing her own champagne to me. I sigh before sipping generously from her glass. Is that not what you've been doing since the day we met? She clicks her tongue. I won't be charmed by your pretty words, Prince. The corner of my mouth curls into a wicked smile. Seems a bit late for that, doesn't it? Cocky bastard, she whispers. Pretty pay. I admire her for a long moment, desperately wishing we were the only ones in this room. Wishing there was no audience, no rules to follow. She seems to be thinking the same thing, because with a huff, she grabs the glass from my hand and finishes off the champagne. I want to dance, she declares, face flushed. I slip my hands into the pocket of my dark pants. Well, you'll have to ask me properly. And what makes you think I want to dance with you? I can't think of a reason you wouldn't want to, actually. Her smirk sharpens before she turns her back on me and calls, Jax! A lanky figure across the room whips around at the sound of his name. When his gaze lands on a waving Payton, his face splits into a grin. He hurries over, his long strides carrying him quickly through the crowd. Hi, Payton. He says this cheerily enough to disguise the nerves rattling his voice. Hello, Jax. When she smiles at him, I catch the nervous bob of Jax's throat. I've missed you. Really? Of course. She extends her hand. Now, let's dance. Jax's eyes widen. Payton, on the other hand, shoves her empty glass into my palm. Then she's throwing a smug look over her shoulder while pulling my little brother onto the dance floor. I shake my head at her bare back, watching that silver dress ripple behind, Jax in tow. It's not long before I'm chuckling at the two of them attempting a dance. They have barely managed a series of steps without stumbling, and Pei can't stop laughing long enough to even try. Instead, she seems to have abandoned the choreography accompanying the song and is now doing whatever the hell she wants. Picking up her shoes, I return to my spot against the pillar, leaning there as I watch them spin around the room. As they smile brightly, their laughter cuts through the commotion of the room, reaching even my ears. It reminds me of a time when we used to laugh like that all the time. Kit brushes my shoulder as he rounds the pillar. I glance over at him with a shake of my head. You read my mind. He sounds tired. I miss enjoying these balls. As do I. I stare out onto the dance floor. At least someone is having a good time. He takes a sip of his drink, eyes following Payton's spinning figure. She seems so happy. Well, I sigh. Half a dozen glasses of champagne will do that to a person. Kit snorts. So she's taken a page out of your book for the night. It would seem so. I crack a smile. But she's definitely doing it better. I would have stolen a bottle of something stronger and staggered off to my room by now. And I would follow, Kit adds, because I refuse to endure a ball if you aren't suffering with me. I shake my head, smiling at the floor. Good old days, huh? Oh, yes. He blows out a breath. I wish these balls were our biggest concern now. I'm not sure what compels me to say it. Even the words taste bitter. I wish they were my biggest concern then, too. But I was busy being cut open by our father. I can feel his shocked gaze roaming my face. Kai, I can't tell you how sorry I am about that. What he was to you, what he put you through, was just so different from the man I knew. Guilt twines its way around me as I immediately regret the words. Taking a breath, I look him in the eyes. Father's eyes. I only say that to remind you of how much better you can be. How much better you've already become. His eyes light with an emotion I can't quite make out. I want to be better. Hell, I want to be great. And you will be. My hand meets his shoulder, shaking it slightly. I'm with you until the very end. His voice is a murmur, earnest as the gaze he pins on me. You and me, brother. You and me, I repeat. We share something, then. A smile. A moment of understanding. A repairing of a bond once strained. It's taken much anger and grief to get here. But I'm proud to say that my brother has returned to me. This is the Kit I know and love. This is the friend I'll spend the rest of my life with. This is the man who is marrying the woman I love. I pushed the thought away. That was too depressing a topic for a ball. We should be attempting to have fun. Kit nods to the dance floor. I think the two of them are having enough fun for the both of us. Indeed, they were. Jax and Peyton had yet to stop causing their incessant spinning. Has it been 3 dances? If they have any more, the court may begin to think our little brother is trying to steal away your betrothed. Oh, I doubt that's the brother they're worried about, Kit says evenly. Here we go. I have rehearsed my rebuttal to this touchy topic. Clearing my throat, I ensure it is only those soft practice words that fill the air between us. I don't want to get in the way of you two. It is the truth. I have no desire to be the wedge driven between them. But that is what I am. And I will not stop loving her because of it. Kit chuckles, and I'm slightly startled by the sound. It is not you who's getting in the way. I don't have the chance to ponder his words. He moves on quickly, avoiding any further discussion on the matter. And some cowardly part of myself is thankful for it. Andy seems to be enjoying the show. Scanning the crowd, I find her familiar wine hair among the throng of bodies. I can see her body shaking with laughter from here, one hand pressed to her mouth, while the other curls around her pretty dance partner. My eyes quickly flick over the crowd to land on a shock of lilac hair. Pressed close to Blair is the tall redhead I know to be Peyton's friend. It was risky, having Blair here, you know. The queen-to-be nearly tore her head off in front of the whole court. The words have Kit taking a drink. Oh, I know. But I need to somehow acclimate the two of them. He coughs quickly into a curled fist. I can't keep them separated forever, and I certainly can't have my queen attacking the people in this castle. My queen. It's the way he says the words that has me tensing. And that is precisely the reaction he was looking for. Aside from my subtle flinch, I keep my expression blank and gaze forward. No, you can't have that. Turning to face him, I lower my voice, adding, "But if I know anything about your queen, it's that she will always find a way to survive or to kill, and I'm not sure anyone can outlive Peyton's wrath." My eyes flick to the dancing couple, a lilac-haired girl in the arms of my Imperial. Kit nods. "I don't doubt that. You know her better than I do. Better than you once knew me. I would know you in every life, brother." My words are hurried. I step in front of him, facing my other half fully. More than any other soul. Believe that. He smiles, a slow, relieved movement. His hand clutches my arm as he ducks his head, hiding the emotion shining in those green eyes. "And I you." I loose a breath, feeling the tension flee from my body. This is the brother I know, the bond I know to have with him, and I cannot bear to lose that. "Are those her shoes?" I follow Kit's gaze to where the heels dangle from my hooked fingers. My laugh is muffled by the hand I run down my face. She took them off about 2 glasses of champagne ago." The king's gaze crawls over my shoulder. "Speak of the devil." I turn slowly towards the dance floor, and there she is, striding towards us with a dazzling smile between rosy cheeks. I'm breathless at the sight of her, doomed by the hope of having her. It's a beautiful ruin, a devastating devotion. This girl holds my heart in her hands, could crush it between her fingers, and still have me thanking her for the touch. And I hold her shoes.
Chapter 23. Peyton. My blood feels bubbly. I'm light and heavy all at once, the spreading warmth beneath my skin hypnotizing. I've never felt so carefree, so unbothered by life and rules and hopes and failures. What was I thinking? My head is spinning. Not in a particularly unpleasant way, but fast enough to routinely dump the thoughts from my head. It doesn't help that the rest of me has been spinning for a length of time I don't care to determine at the moment. I've finally untangled myself from Jax's long legs after dancing, or something loosely resembling that, between the staring court members. Because I've set my sights on something equally as fun. The boys lean against a pillar, black suits stark beside the marble stone, and I can't focus on anything else because, holy shit, they look good. I can feel my smile growing as I walk towards them in as straight of a line as I can manage. They are a pretty pair, the Azar brothers, and I have the rest of my life to spend with them, married to one and in love with the other. That bleak thought is one of the many I'd hoped the numerous glasses of champagne would ward off. But like all the others, the thought is fleeting, as is the urge to rip Blair's head off, for now. I'm suddenly standing before the king and his enforcer, Kit and Kai, betrothed and regrettably not betrothed. My tongue feels loose and dry, and where the hell are my shoes? I ignore all of this to say, "Why aren't you two having fun?" It's Kai who answers, voice enticing in a way I certainly wouldn't refuse at the moment. "Are we supposed to dance with Jax as well?" Kit chuckles while I smile loosely, tilting my heavy head. I want him to laugh at my words like that. I want him to want to spend time with me, or something like that. "No, I'm sure you've already done that. So, I've come to ask you to dance." Well, that's an interesting idea. I'm scared what words will fall from my mouth next. Whatever I say is a shock to even myself. Kai shakes his head. And I thought you couldn't surprise me any further tonight. When the enforcer's gaze meets mine, the king returns to his frustrating stoicism. Yes, I would very much like for us to be friends again. His words are clipped. Me or Kai? I think I hear myself giggle. Yes. And with that, I'm grabbing them both by the arm. I don't bother trying to comprehend their persistent protests as I drag them towards the dance floor. The sea of people parts for us, amused enough to turn to their neighbor and gossip. When I halt in the center of the dance floor, I turn to the boys. As future queen, I hereby instate a new tradition. I might have yelled the words. Oops. Kai is now pinching the bridge of his nose, swallowing the laugh in his throat. Plagues, I hope you remember this tomorrow. Shh, I'm making a decree, I scold. Kit might have smiled. We're listening, Peyton. I like that he said my name. That feels like progress. I clear my throat, ignoring the many wide gazes surrounding, and I feel like I should be taller for this, establish my strength and such. So where the hell are my heels when I actually need them? I declare, I say slowly, my spine straightening, a dance between the three of us, unified as one. I don't even give them a chance to argue. How very queenly of me. I'm wrapping an arm around each of them and swaying to the lively music. This is the fun I wanted. This will bring us together. What better way to force the king into friendship with me? I laugh, and plagues, have I ever laughed so much? A safe bet would be no, I have never laughed so much. And I think it may be that very reason that gets the boys' feet to move with me. They share a single glance. It's that brotherly bond that can never be broken, except perhaps by me, but what a grim thought. That has them communicating in a language I can't hear. And the silent conclusion they come to is clearly for my benefit. Not rooted in pity, no, but in caring. Kai for me, and Kit for Kai. Soon enough, their arms weave around my back, wrapping around each other. We spin in our makeshift circle with any series of steps we desire. I'm pulled and spun and laughing louder by the minute. They laugh with me, at me, maybe, but I don't care. This is a happiness I'm willing to sacrifice my dignity for. We break out of our circle, dancing however we please. I'm spun between them, passed from arm to arm. I barely even notice the groups of people beginning to dance beside us, all following our lead. Clusters of bodies spin and dance among themselves, laughing at the informality of it all. And I dare say it's the most fun this court has ever seen. Teetering on my toes, I throw both arms over the king and his enforcer's shoulders, beaming at the room around us. There is such beauty in chaos, and I'm being lifted off the ground. I squeal when arms wrap around my waist and hoist my feet off the floor. I'm now a foot taller than the boys holding me up, and this is exactly the height I wish to be when making my impulsive decree. I look down to my left. Kit, crown crooked atop blonde hair, smile shockingly wide, demeanor that of the boy I befriended so long ago, not the one I'd betrayed. I see hope when I look at him in this moment, a blooming companionship. I look down to my right. Kai, black hair curling over his brow, eyes bright, and dimples that I curse beneath my breath. But above all, love. It lingers in his gaze, in his touch, down to the very curve of that smile I know belongs to me alone. The room spins around me, but it's him I focus on, him I cling to. Long after our dance, and long into the next life. The night passes in the form of hazy flashes. My mouth hurts from smiling, my feet ache from dancing. But I'm not on my feet in this flashing moment. No. I'm in strong arms, pressed against a broad chest, smiling up at a handsome face. He tells me to stop looking at him like that. My voice sounds far away. And how am I looking at you? He says I'm looking at him like a promise I can't keep. This confuses me. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it makes perfect sense. I want to tell you a secret, but I'm scared of it. He offers to say it for me. I nod. I notice what is hooked around his fingers, dangling from the hand beneath my knees. You found my shoes! He whispers the three-worded secret. You found my shoes for me. Another murmured declaration of devotion. Tears prick my eyes. You found my shoes for me. He says he loves me, again and again. I cover my face with a pillow, smothering out the light. Groaning, I roll over, nearly slipping off the side of my bed. My head pounds as I dare to peek open an eye and instantly regret it. Sunlight has long since poured into my room to bathe the bed in warmth, as if the rays wish to caress my cheek. Throwing the covers over my aching head, I happily hide from the world beyond, except the world beyond begins to speak. You know, I bet noon, but Kai was confident on 2 hours past that, says a familiar voice. He was right. I suppose I should have listened. He does know you far better. I wouldn't give him too much credit, I grumble from beneath the sheets. It'll go to his head. Gathering my courage, I slowly peel back the fort I've buried myself beneath and squint in the painful light. I know by voice alone who occupies this room with me, but that doesn't make it any less shocking when I see his green eyes and tousled blonde hair. He is in my room. Shocking still, he came to see me. I don't remember much of last night, but I must have done something right. Now I just need to ensure I don't ruin this progress. I scramble into a sitting position as Kit so obviously points out, champagne is not nearly as fun in the morning. My heavy eyes land on where he sits beside the bed. The king is watching me closely, and all I can manage is a weak, my head is pounding. That, he says slowly, I expected, so I had Gale mix this up for you. He grabs a glass from my bedside table, swirling the murky liquid within it. I try my best not to seem shocked by his kind gesture, but it's difficult to ignore the hope swelling in my chest. That looks terrifying, I finally croak. What even is it? His smile is worrisome. It's best if you don't know, but it will make you feel better, trust me. I cut him a skeptical glance after peering at the liquid. He inclines his head, urging me to drink. But as soon as I press the glass to my lips and tip my throbbing head back, I immediately regret it. The taste can only be described as foul, and I'm momentarily considering spitting the grainy texture out. No, don't give up yet. The corner of Kit's mouth kicks up, and that alone keeps me going. Hastily gulping down the rest of the vile liquid, I push the cup into his hand with a sputtering cough. That was... I physically shudder. That was awful. Gale's hangover remedy is not for the weak, let me tell you. His gaze grows distant. Kai and I have endured it many times over the years. I'm handed a glass of water next, which I eagerly drain in the hopes it will rid me of the horrible taste in my mouth. The king watches me closely, looking far from the title with how casually he sits beside me. How are you feeling? I assess myself before determining. Better, actually, thank you. I'm feeling annoyingly awkward. I didn't think you would come and see me. Someone had to ensure you were still alive up here, he says simply. I'm glad you cared to check. There is a long pause. It's as though he hadn't considered that to be true. Then comes his curt change of subject. I'm addressing the court today about your next trial. I straighten. Already? Kit nods. Testing your benevolence will take longer than your bravery, so I'm getting you started sooner. I'll be in another trial within the next few days. The words are deafening, and yet I had hardly whispered them. A familiar sense of panic eats away at my composure. I may have completed the first trial, but that does not guarantee I'll make it out of this one alive. And just as I have been my entire life, I'm afraid. At least you're plenty rested, Kit offers. I lean my head against the wall where it continues to ache dully. When did I get back to my room last night? Nearly 5 in the morning, he states. Kai carried you up here. I practically wince at his words. There's no bite to them, and that almost makes it worse. Talk of Kai has always been, and always will be, unbearably awkward, so I attempt to avoid it. Plagues, how much did I drink? Enough to not remember much, I assume. I blow out a breath. Yes, it's all very blurry. I remember bits and pieces of the ball. Cutting him a glance, I add, well, I certainly remember why I started drinking in the first place. The sight of Blair flashes in my mind, managing to boil my blood even now. I'm sorry that her being there was so upsetting, Kit states, not sounding too torn up about it. But I need you to get used to her being around. I can't simply make her disappear. Oh, I could. There's not a hint of a smile on my face. Allow me, please. You know that's not possible, Peyton. He runs a hand down the back of his neck. But you seem to be having fun despite her being there. Even managed to get the court having a good time. And that is no simple feat. Yes, the dancing, I say slowly. My feet are sore. Well, I hear you discarded your shoes rather quickly. He nods to the heels that were hastily strewn beside my bed. I stare at them, a memory struggling to surface at the sight. But before I have a chance to recall, Kit is standing to his feet. You made another decree as well. Very impressive. I laugh. Don't mock me. That almost manages to earn me a smile before he clears his raspy throat and stands. I'll send Ellie in to get you ready. I have a meeting to get to. He points to the bedside table, drawing my attention to what sits there, steaming in the sunlight. I hadn't noticed the bowl in my foggy state. Kai said you might want some of that. Again, he knows you rather well, so I took his word for it. Despite myself, I smile at the porridge decorated with fruit. Fruit that Kai despises. Blueberries sit among the steaming oats, reminding me of that long night under the willow. Thank you, I murmur, lifting my eyes to his, for bringing it for me. He gives me a quick nod of his head. Then he coughs into an ink-stained fist. You have 2 hours. I'll see you at the throne room then. Stepping out the door, he's quickly replaced with Ellie. I scarf down the porridge while she readies the room, eyeing me from afar. What is it, Ellie? I finally ask between bites. Nothing, she answers quickly. I'm just happy you're feeling better. You were very out of it when Prince Kai dropped you off last night. I feel my cheeks redden. Yes, not my finest moment. He insisted on staying in here with you. She glances over at me bashfully. Said he would sit in that chair until he was sure you were asleep. I swallow. And did he? Yes. Her voice is quiet. And long after. We fall silent soon after that, setting our focus on the task at hand. After a cool bath that further wakes me, Ellie ensures I look presentable in record time. She's pinned half of my damp hair up with the exception of a few pieces that fall around my powdered face. Next, I step into an elegant green gown behind the screen. The drooping sleeves and high neckline cover my scars, following the requirements I'd given Ellie for any future dresses. Shoving on my heels, I'm hit once again with that fleeting memory at the sight of them. But Ellie is pushing me out of the doors before I have the chance to ponder it further. I set a steady pace down the hall, passing the many emotionless Imperials lining it. They stare, and I stare back. Soon enough, I'm threading my arm through Kit's and watching the large doors swing open. When I look over at him, he nods slowly, and then we're stepping into the throne room. The same eyes that watched me last night are watching me now. We walk between the throng of people on either side, faces forward. Reaching the dais, Kit guides me up before we turn as one towards the court. His fingers reach for mine, lacking all the hesitancy he shows in private. But this is for show, not feelings. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, today we gather in honor of Peyton Gray's second trial, Kit announces, voice steady. As you and the rest of Ilya know, she successfully retrieved Marina Azur's lost crown. After proving her bravery, she will now prove her benevolence. As the second of the 3Bs, Kit continues, benevolence has proven difficult in the past, due to our isolation from neighboring cities. But with our borders now open, we must extend peace to the kingdoms. This will take more than a letter detailing Ilya's changes. It will require action. My eyes skim over the crowd, finding Callum among the unfamiliar faces. He's smiling slightly at Kit's words, pleased with every one that leaves his mouth. Beside him stands a girl I haven't seen since the resistance meetings at my old home. Her hair is the same blonde as her father's, eyes nearly as blue. Mira. When she catches me staring, I'm barely offered a nod, let alone a smile. This is hardly surprising. We weren't particularly close, and I'm not sure she would give me a grin even if we were. I turn my attention back to the king when he glances over at me. It's a fleeting look that just might resemble an apology. For that reason, Kit declares, Peyton will be traveling across the shallow sea to befriend the city of Isram and open future trade between us. My sharp inhale is drowned out by the clapping crowd. Of course, they're clapping. No one has crossed the treacherous stretch of water in years, and I may not make it back if I dare test the unforgiving sea. That is why they cheer. Peyton will inform Isram of our open borders and negotiate peace. Kit continues his speech, but I hear none of it. No. My eyes land on Kai's before running over his rigid body. Fear pulls at his features, and when he dares to meet my gaze, I'm forced to once again wonder why I ever bothered looking at anyone else. Those icy eyes drag over my body, feeling heavier than a touch, more meaningful than a word. I revel in his reverence. That is, until it lands on the fingers I've laced between his brothers. A muscle feathers in his jaw. I can see the anger seeping out from beneath the unbothered mask he slipped on. So he looks away. He turns. He strides from the throne room. And I can feel myself beginning to drift without him to anchor me.
Chapter 24. Kai. I pace the worn rug, doing the same thing I'd done when it was father sitting behind that desk. Kit leans back in his chair with a sharp clearing of his throat. Sensing the tension, Isol steps forward to offer,
There is no alternative. This is what the court wants.
This is a death wish, I bite out. That is why they want her to do it, not to prove her benevolence, but to die trying. It's Callum who speaks next, though I don't bother looking at the mind reader. I have faith that Peyton can do this, and traveling to Isram will impress the people far more than even finding that crown. I shake my head, failing to hide my frustration. Damn pretending. Damn these trials. Kit already suspects that my allegiance to Peyton runs far deeper than being her enforcer. All of this for what? To deliver some damn roses? Isol draws a breath.
Isram struggles to grow them due to their sandy soil, and roses are used to treat illnesses.
It's the first thing she said since striding into the study and taking a seat beside the fireplace. At the sound of Peyton's voice, I turned to look at her, finding those blue eyes already pinned on me. I was the daughter of a healer once, she continues simply. I know of the benefits and high demand for the flower. Kit nods in agreement to her words. This gift would be beneficial to Isram. A physical peace offering for shutting off trade with them. Queen Zayla has yet to hear of our opened borders, so it would be Peyton who reintroduces Ilya as an ally. And the Shallows. I ask, exasperated. The things that lurk within it. I'm suddenly bracing my palms on the desk, leaning forward as I say, Kit, you know that Jax's parents died in a shipwreck over that sea. That was the very last time anyone has publicly tried to make the trek. I know. Kit's voice is suddenly stern. Of course, I remember what happened to Jax's parents. But times have changed. Ships have evolved. Tellies and hydros will be on board. Extra precautions have been made. He pauses. Payton will be safe. Easel's long mint hair comes into view beside Kit's desk.
As for what supposedly lurks within the shallows, we have no way of knowing if those myths are true or not. But rest assured, the ship will be equipped with weapons and plenty of elites.
That finally has Payton standing from her seat, unsurety slanting her brows.
What myth?
I gesture to the court spokesman. You're the one sending her on this journey? So why don't you tell her? He obliges, though slightly hesitant.
It has been said that the plague may have even altered animals. There are stories of enhanced creatures, bigger, faster, stronger than before. Because of that, many believe there to be some creature living in the shallows.
A beast that belongs to the sea, I finish for him, turning my attention back to Payton. My words seem to have hit her with a sudden realization. Her eyes are pinned on the carpet, her head shaking slightly. The bats. What? Callum asks, stealing the question from my lips. The bats, she repeats distractedly. There were these massive bats in the cave above that crypt. I remember thinking there was something unnatural about them. Her eyes find Callum's. Do you think they were genetically mutated? He inhales deeply, tucking tanned arms behind his back. It is definitely possible. The scholars have collected evidence themselves, though they don't publicly speak on it. But that doesn't mean the sea creature is anything more than a bedtime story. Yet another thing I never got the chance to learn on the streets of Lut. Payton huffs out a laugh, the sound cutting. I really am ordinary, even to animals. I catch the slight hardening of Callum's face, likely in response to the bitter way she speaks about herself. Are you up for this journey, Payton? I didn't realize I had a choice, she answers earnestly. But if this is what the people need from me. Isel nods solemnly at her words. Then I will do it, she finishes. I'm going with her. There is not a hint of hesitancy in my voice. It's a demand, a compromise I won't negotiate. Even worse, I don't care if my worry for her seeps into the words. I will follow her to the bottom of the sea if I must. Kai, you can't be serious, Kit starts, sounding betrayed. I'm not just your enforcer, I state. I'm now Payton's as well. And if there is one thing Father ensured I had learned, it was to never let my king and queen face danger unless I was between it and them. I can feel Payton's wide gaze roaming over me, but I don't dare let my stare stray from Kit. He studies me long enough to have Callum begin filling the silence. The king needs his enforcer here. Cutting him off, it's Kit I speak to. What do you think that crew will do to their ordinary queen? My voice drops as I murmur. It wouldn't surprise me if they tried to throw her overboard the second that ship reaches open water. Call it a freak accident. I shake my head, but not if I'm there. No one will dare touch her. And if you weren't so damn important, brother, I know you would be on that ship with her. But we can't risk losing you. So risk me instead. I'll ensure the crew behaves. Kit challenges. Threats won't stop them from throwing her overboard and returning with a tale about how the future queen ran off in Isram. I counter quietly. Kit. Peyton is suddenly beside me, her palms pressed against the wood desk. I wish it was you coming with me. The words sting more than I suspected they would. Even knowing this is another moment of pretend, I feel a twinge of hurt in the heart I've so readily given her. But you have a kingdom to rule, she continues steadily. And if you want me to return to it, I need some protection. After a long moment of scrutinizing, Kit finally tears his eyes away. All right, he says, voice hushed. Kai will go with you. I nod curtly despite my sudden relief at his words. I'll ensure she makes it back to you. I'm sure you will. When do we leave? Pei cuts in, sensing the slight tension. It's Isel who answers. Day after tomorrow. Early. You're making the right decision, Kit. I swallow. For your future bride. Everything in me recoils at the words, but I utter them all the same. He seems to notice how much it pains me, but he plays along, giving a slow nod to the door. You two have some packing to do. Not a very subtle dismissal, but I can't say I'm surprised. So I take the hint along with my leave. Reaching the curved staircase, I climb the steps 2 at a time, following the familiar route towards my room. I pace as even, hopes oddly high for one who may be sailing to their death. But I am no stranger to drowning. I've been doing just that since the day I looked into her ocean eyes. A power shifts beneath my skin, growing stronger with each step. It feels familiar, harsh in the same way it has been since we were children. I know who awaits me even before I round the corner. Her lilac hair is braided loosely down the back of her simple blouse. It's jarring seeing Blair look anything but lethal. Yet, here she stands, face free of its usual dark makeup and clothes surprisingly plain. What are you doing here? I ask as way of greeting. She raises a dark brow. What am I doing outside my door? My smile is sharp. Why aren't you behind it? Oh, I see. She says this with more than a hint of disdain. You're asking because, apparently, I'm no longer allowed to step foot outside of my own room. A slight pout forms on her lips. We can't have our future queen hurting herself trying to kill me. I run a hand down my face, already exhausted by this conversation. What are you doing out here, Blair? I thought Lenny gets you everything you need. Not everything, unfortunately, she sighs. If you must know, I was sharpening my knives. You know, for throwing at little children outside my window. Her eyes roll. Or whatever other twisted hobbies you think I enjoy. I gesture lazily to the door. Get back in there, please. Her gaze travels over me. It seems the slumber taught you some manners. How ironic. Don't, Blair, I warn. So, will you share her with Kit the rest of your life, or find another ordinary on the streets? The words have barely left her mouth before I snap. I throw her back against the wall with nothing but my mind and the use of her borrowed telepower. She gasps in surprise, straining slightly beneath my hold on her body. No elite appreciates their own power being used against them, but I have little concern for her feelings at the moment. Each step towards her pinned body is slow, deliberate. The glare she gives me is dull, seemingly unconcerned by her current situation. But when I loom over her, she fights to tilt her head up and meet my icy stare. Talk about her like that again, I murmur slowly, and you'll be begging to stay locked in that room, safe from me. Something about her gaze gradually softens in the seconds after my threat, and that concerns me. Shit, she breathes, mouth gaping. Her lashes flutter as she stares up at me, equally shocked and amused. You're in love with her. I step back abruptly, releasing my hold on her and the power I'd clutched tightly in my mind. She slumps against the wall, free to move her slackened limbs. And the first thing she does is shake her head at me in disbelief. I always knew there was something between you, but... Her laugh is slightly crazed. You're completely in love with her. My eyes wander to the floor, chest heaving with each breath. I can't even find a convincing enough lie to spew. I'm not even sure I could bring myself to deny it if I had to. So I stand there like an open wound, letting her examine the weakness she's discovered. Blair takes a single, slow step towards me. When my gaze finally climbs up to her awaiting one, the shake of her head is pitying. A sharp smile settles on her lips to mirror the one I've seen her give since we were children. Oh, you are Prince Kai! Looking up, I find an Imperial standing in the center of the hall with a plate of food in each hand. Identifying his red hair immediately, I watch Lenny's eyes flick between his enforcer and the girl he's meant to be guarding. He clears his throat, hurrying over with an equally rushed, hello, sir. It's great to see you. Blair, sweetheart, you're meant to be in the room, not loitering outside of it, yes? Her eyes roll before she's spewing falsely sweet words, thoroughly mocking him. Lenny, my little ginger snap that I could quite literally snap in half with a single thought. Kai spotted me before I had the chance to enter the room and send my sharpened knives flying towards those who pass beneath the window. She turns to me then, smiling sarcastically. He loves that game. Don't let him tell you otherwise. Laughing uncomfortably, Lenny shoos her towards the door. Quite the sense of humor she's got. Never a dull moment with this one. Oh, please, she huffs. Don't pretend you like me. It will only make me work harder too. Lenny kicks the door shut behind her with a smile. Ensure you don't, Blair calls from the other side, voice muffled. Alone in the hall, we stare at each other for a long moment. With a sigh, I mutter, keep her out of sight, all right? It could have been Peyton that walked down this hole, and we all know what she would have done. Lenny nods in agreement. Yes, sir. He steps closer then, casting a weary glance at the door. She can't stay locked up forever, though. It's not right. I run a hand through my hair. I know, but Peyton needs time. That's the only explanation I offer before turning away and beginning down the hall once again. Good luck with her. His response is quiet, lost to the growing gap between us as I round another corner.
Chapter 25. Peyton. Water drips from the ends of my hair, pelting my shoulders as I swirl a finger in the warm bath. I bask in the luxury of it all, lathering sweet-smelling soap onto my skin. Leaning my head over the edge of the porcelain tub, I shut my eyes and focus on this last bit of calm I feel. Because the water I'll be venturing out onto tomorrow will not be so peaceful and contained. It terrifies me, the unknown and uncontrollable, nearly as much as it inspires. After a long day of packing and silently gathering my courage, I've approached dusk with much fear of the day that follows. So, as the night yawned on and sleep evaded, I decided to drown my sorrows in a bath. I'd been buried beneath bubbles for so long that Ellie came to check on me. It took several attempts to convince her that I was, in fact, capable of getting to bed without her being there. After finally giving in and hesitantly wishing me good night, she left to get the rest I desperately wished I could. Dipping my head beneath the water, I'm reminded how easily something so warm and soothing can swallow me whole. Even this bath is dangerously unassuming, but the sea is far less enticing. I'm running out of air. I don't even know how to swim. If I end up overboard, the sea will claim me quickly. My lungs tighten. There would be no fighting my way out of death's clutches. Now they burn. I'll be completely vulnerable. I break through the surface, gulping down the damp air. I allow myself another moment to sit within the water, feeling every ripple and lap of it against my skin. Then I'm combing my wet hair back from my face and standing. Throwing on the silken robe Ellie set out for me, only after smiling at the bag of chocolate she left beside it, I pad into the bedroom, intent on flopping face first onto my mattress. Not that I expect to get much sleep. No, it's a combination of nerves and boredom that has me wishing to do nothing at all but rot with my thoughts. This may be my last night on solid ground. I feel queasy. A gnawing worry grows within the pit of my stomach. I think vaguely of how I might leave this world. Fighting? Regretful? At peace? No, peace implies that all is well in my life. But there are wrongs to be righted and forgiveness to be earned. I refuse to die until I'm satisfied with the way I lived. I groan. In the end, it is the imminence of death that manages to drag me from my bed. I knock hesitantly on his door. My heart pounds wildly in anticipation. I'm not normally the one to do this, and I doubt I'll ever do it again because of how annoyingly nervous The handle turns. And when the door opens, I almost expect to be met with a cocky smile, a mess of black hair, or a familiar set of lips that have tasted mine. But everything before me is unsurety. This mouth is slackened with surprise, and one I've never met. The hair atop his head is blonde and neat and the opposite of his brother's. He is the opposite of his brother. I stand in the doorway, blinking up at the shocked Kit. "Hi," I say, if only to fill the silence. His response is equally awkward. "Hi." "Sorry, did I wake you?" "Oh, no." Kit rubs the back of his neck, an action he frequents. He looks over his shoulder, seeming slightly surprised to find the air unoccupied. "No, I don't sleep much anymore." My gaze dips to his stained hands. "Are you writing something?" "Just notes. It helps me think." He clears his throat, mumbles something under his breath. For a moment, I think he's forgotten my presence. My eyes narrow at his strange behavior. Is there a reason you're here at this hour?" He's blinked the bleariness from his distant gaze. I'm momentarily startled by his sudden composure. "Right, yes." I lift a bundled blanket between us, one I'd ripped off my bed after quickly dressing. "I thought we could have a picnic?" I wince. "I'm not sure, really, but I have chocolate." We stare at each other, both of us knowing precisely what this is. A peace offering. Kit glances over his shoulder again, as if weighing whether this is worth a pause in his writing. I'm beginning to believe the king will turn me away when he finally steps aside. "I can't say no to chocolate." With a relieved smile, I creep into the room. The folded blanket hangs limply from my fingers while I try not to look so intrigued by his bedchamber. It's surprisingly plain for a king, at least compared to the lavish lifestyle I assumed one would have. But it is not void of character. Potted plants litter the room, dotting each corner with color and twining around anything in reach. My eyes skip over the crumpled bed to find books piled on either side, their broken spines piled to dangerous heights around the room, never far from a strewn map or scribbled document. "I would have tidied up if I had known you were visiting," Kit says, sounding only slightly self-conscious. He sweeps aside a cluster of inky parchment as I set the blanket on the ground. No need to clean on my behalf. I unfold the fabric to reveal that bag of sweets Ellie left me. You've seen where I lived. I have. He sounds regretful. Taking a seat on the stretched blanket, I fold my legs beneath me and beckon for Kit to follow. He obeys, sitting stiffly to my right with all the comfortability of an acquaintance, not the man meant to be my husband. And that lack of progress is exactly why I'm here. I offer him a chocolate before unwrapping my own. I haven't had one of these since our game of catch in the kitchens. Popping the sweet into his mouth, Kit mumbles. I was the only one catching. You were dropping. All right, I sigh out the words. No need to gloat. He smiles, and that is progress. So, why did you really want to have this makeshift picnic with me? Do I need a reason to eat chocolate with you? No, he says slowly. But you likely have one. So you do know me after all, I tease. I thought I did. Another chocolate disappears into his mouth. Once. A frown pulls at my mouth. I haven't changed. I'm still that girl you knew during the purging trials. No, he counters. You're hardened. I stop chewing. Our eyes lock in silent scrutiny. I have to be. That is the only way ordinaries can survive in Ilia. Well, soon you won't be ordinary. The king sounds ruffled. You'll be royalty. My laugh is humorless enough to draw a look of surprise from Kit's stoic features. Maybe, but your father ensured I would never forget who I really was. Maybe it's habit, or anger, or a cruel mixture of both that has my gaze falling to the top button of his crumpled shirt. It seems history refuses to go unrepeated. Once again, I'm avoiding the gaze of a man who nearly killed me, and despite the reminder that these green eyes do not belong to Edric Azar, I still find it difficult to meet them. Even in death, the late king tortures me. There you go again, Kit murmurs. I will my stare to meet the speculating one he's pinned on me. There was a time when you couldn't look me in the eyes, he says evenly. Just as you're doing now. And in the gardens, you told me it was because I reminded you of someone. It was my father, wasn't it? I lean back, slightly startled by his question. But if I want to restore that relationship between us, I need to be honest. I thought your father killed mine, I explain softly. And well, in a way, he did. It was Kai he gave the order to. Kai I watched bury a sword in my father's chest. But I didn't know that until the king taunted me outside the bowl. Kit's voice is numb. And that is when you killed him. Barely, I murmur, remembering every blow the king rained down on me. It was like he had been waiting for that day, like every blow was planned. It's all become such a blur now, but I glance over at his stiff form. But yes, I avoided your gaze, your company, because you look so much like him. The chocolates sit forgotten on the floor, now little more than witnesses to our hushed conversation. And when you did seek out my company, Kit says dryly, it was because you needed to find a way into those tunnels. No! My explanation is a flurry of rushed words. Well, maybe at first. Yes, I needed a way into those tunnels, but it became so much more than that. I wanted to spend that time with you, be honest about what I was doing. But I wanted to make a difference more. And I knew how close you were with your father. So you assumed I was against the resistance, against ordinaries as well. He finishes for me. This is followed by an indifferent shrug. To be honest, I never much cared what happened to the ordinaries. Banished or not, it didn't matter. But my father was obsessed with ridding Ilia of them, and it was his undoing, his greatest failure. I fiddle with an empty wrapper, rolling it between my fingers. And now you're marrying the one thing he hated. Better yet, the one thing that killed him. My whole body tenses in anticipation of my next question. And you're okay with that? I don't really have a choice, he mutters. You know, I didn't think I would be able to look at you either. Not after what you did. But I quickly realized that my father wasn't worth pleasing. His praise wasn't worth obsessing over. He mindlessly gathers the chocolates in a tight circle. Now, I will be the one to make Ilya great. My own way. I nod slowly. I'm glad to hear he doesn't still control you. He lets the words hang between us. My fingers take advantage of the tense moment and lift a chocolate to my lips. I savor it, tasting nostalgia between each nutty bite. This is the chocolate I used to steal for Adina on special occasions. The last of which was her birthday, though we hadn't known it would be her last at the time. I can't say the same about you. I'm pulled from my thoughts and back onto the king's plush floor. What do you mean? He clearly has control over you. My father, Kit clarifies. Otherwise, you would have no issue looking me in the eyes. I'm doing it again. My gaze snaps up from his throat to crash into the familiar gaze above. It is heavy atop the purple smudges of restlessness. It's time he knows. Kit opens his mouth again, but I'm already moving, already gathering my courage alongside the folds of my shirt. Determination overrules my sudden desperation to hide this marred piece of myself. But if this man is to be my husband, he will soon see every bit of brokenness that makes up my being. So I might as well start with the scars on my heart. I shift in front of him, forcing the tremble from my voice. He doesn't control me. He haunts me. My hand lifts to tug the collar of my shirt down, down, down. I know the brand is visible when his face pales. Is that... He swallows. Is that an O? I don't bother looking down at the jagged letter that defines me. For ordinary. Kit is shaking his head now. I don't... After trailing his blade down my neck, I say flatly, he promised to leave his mark on my heart, so I never forget who broke it. He raises his hand, as if wishing to run his fingers over the scar before thinking better of it. This is not the man I knew. The man you knew didn't exist. His eyes trace that mangled circle of flesh. I'm sorry. My voice is hoarse. I am too. You're not the girl I knew during those purging trials, he says softly. Not anymore. His words don't startle me like I thought they would. Because he's right. I've already mourned the girl who died alongside Adina in that pit. Something broken staggered out of the bowl arena that day, and I've only been stronger for it. And you are not the boy I knew either. My throat is dry, but I scrape the words off my tongue. Now I want to know this king you've become. Kit's voice is light despite the weight of his words. I worry for what you will find.